Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Final Whistle here on the Family Center Network, the Final Whistle Network. Hit that like, subscribe button as you join in from Facebook, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the social medias. Tap in. Glad to have y'all on the show. You see, I'm here with my esteemed brothers. The Avengers, the Roddy Rupert guys, I like to call them. Let's go around the table and introduce these guys. Y'all know their names. Listen, our lead recruiting analyst, Dan James, how are you?
Always good, brother. Roll Tide. It's Tuesday. Final whistle.
Final whistle, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, back from being at the beach, hanging out all the beaches in Florida, the one and only Mr. Pettey himself. Pettey, how are you?
Glad to be back with my guys, man.
Man, we're glad to have you. Glad to have you. And ladies and gentlemen, my main man, my guy, Debo of the Avengers, the one and only Luscion Graves. How are you, sir?
You know, guys, I'm doing great. It's Tuesday. It's the final whistle. We got a lot to talk about. Some great things. I'm really excited. Actually, I'm very excited for one of these topics. I can't wait to get into it. Roll daggum tide.
Roll daggum tide. Speaking of rolling, this guy rolls his own Cuban. He's getting his Cuban cigars sent to him from Cuba via Amazon. The one and only Around the Table Sports. With the Yankees fitted cap, Ty Hayes, how are you, sir?
Like you said, it's a Tuesday evening with the guys, and I just cracked open a brand new box, just touched down today, of Cubans. So, it's a good evening.
Nice. So, you're a Yankees fan, Ty?
No. So, I tell everybody this. I like baseball as a theory, right? But I have a hard time sitting down and watching a baseball game. But I love the history of baseball, how there's this intertwined history of baseball and even Congress, right, for some of the laws that have passed. But when I would do moot court, I started this tradition of everywhere I would go, I would get a fitted hat. So I have fitted hats for New York, Sox, Cubs, right? Like Padres when I was out in San Diego, the Giants when I was in San Francisco. I have all these fitteds just from travel. It's nothing to do with like a fandom and more to do with travel. Plus I'm in New York every summer, at least once a year for my family. So
I was about to say, I didn't know if you were big on the torpedo bats.
I was about to, I knew it. Like, so are those cigars shaped like the torpedo bat reference coming?
Yes.
Don't hate ingenuity. Don't hate ingenuity, guys.
I mean, I'm not hating. I'm just saying. I just know it's a big topic.
They did nothing wrong.
It's legal.
It's legal. Oh, I know what that noise.
They did nothing wrong.
So, guys, speaking of torpedo and hitting bombs, like Judges, you know, he's rocked up. But if you want to get your lawn care rocked up, having looking like a home run, go to Limestone Inc. to get your rock stone, get your yard looking good. Pettey, can you elaborate on the real rock stone?
Absolutely can. You don't need a torpedo bat to hit a home run with Limestone Company. Just go to realrockstone.com. Inevitably, if you're building that dream home, you've seen those beautiful homes that look like castles and said, I want stone like that on my house. Well, today can be that day, especially with that 10% discount you get by telling them the Bama Standard sent you. Yes, 10% off your purchase of stone. RealRockStone.com. Limestone, they're located in Aniana, Alabama. They're one of the oldest, most trusted sources in the state. Again, tell them we sent you using the promo code, the Bama Standard. Get 10% off that stone purchase and get some of that stone on your house today.
I love it. Get some of that stone on your house today. So, guys, we got a slew of amazing topics. But let's get into the first one. We're going to dive right in. Guys, we got a lot of additions, but, we've had 2 scrimmages. We've heard Kalen DeBoer mention how he is excited about certain position groups. He highlighted the secondary. But, guys, this one position group that makes this secondary so great, and that's the wide receiver group. And especially we want to highlight JaMarcus Shephard Effect on the evolution of Bama receivers. We're going away from Holloman Wiggins, who left to go to Texas A&M, and now we got the premier guy to lead these guys in the wide receiver room. High energy guys. So let's see. Let's start with Mr. Ty Hayes on this subject. Give us your statement or thoughts on how JaMarcus Shepard has really evolved this wide receiver room. And, just the floor is yours. And then I'm going to go to Luscion after that.
Well, it's funny because we talked about Mo the last time we met, right? And what an incredible job Mo Linguist has done. I thought that Mo was the surprise of the staff because you knew he'd had this experience, but you just didn't know what to expect with such a depleted room. To me, when I looked at the hires DeBoer made, there was someone he brought in that to me wasn't going to be a surprise. He was already so proven that you were just excited for him to step on campus, and that was JaMarcus Shepard. What he has done is spoken for. The development he has done, the way his guys go to bat for him. I thought it meant a lot whenever he came from Washington to Bama and Jeremy followed. Because you remember, Jeremy had, 500 yards at Washington while being hurt for a lot of that year?
Right.
He was banged up. He was a guy that a lot of those Husky fans were thinking, hey, this is our solidified wide receiver 1 coming into next year. His place was spoken for, but he left. He came with JaMarcus, and when that happened, I was like, okay, he's obviously loved. And then you hear about some of these guys talking about him. He is incredible. But what I thought was so nice to see was just like Mo recruiting the DBs. We talked about this last week. The Alabama DB recruiting hasn't faltered at all, even though there's no Saban, there's no T-Rob, there's no Charles Kelly. Mo Linguist is out recruiting anybody's expectations. So too is JaMarcus Shepard. Bama is getting the looks for a 5-star wide receiver right now, one of the top wide receivers in the nation in Morgan. And then the evaluations he is given are second to none. Luscion Brooks, I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. He could be the steal. Once again, he could be, and I would bet right now, he will be the steal of the class of 2025. From unranked to 3-star to 4-star to top 100, Luscion Brooks is a steal. That's an evaluation, and that's something this staff is great at. So I think the wide receiver room is a major plus. I think JaMarcus Shepard was a proven commodity coming to Alabama, and I think maybe, and Lou, I'm excited to hear you take it from here. For me, but I want to hear you answer this, Lou, maybe was the guy I was most excited for whenever DeBoer was assembling this and it was known that JaMarcus Shepard was coming.
Luscion?
I'm gonna agree with that just because of what he has done throughout his career with wide receivers, and it doesn't just start at Washington. It actually started at Purdue University is when he really got started.
Good point.
With players like Rondale Moore, David Bell. These guys are NFL talent wide receivers. They're playing professional football now. He has had a past history of identifying talent and developing it to a higher level. And every stop he's been at, the touchdowns have increased. Every stop he's been at, the average per yards per catch has increased. He has had an effect everywhere he's been at. The wide receivers gravitate to him. Yeah, he might root out some of the lazy ones, but he also calls his players out at the same time as giving them all the love that they're going to need. It's tough love, and it's got to be that. because I kind of feel like sometimes wide receiver coaches might go a little soft on their players because, you know, wide receivers kind of be divas, let's be honest. They get a little sensitive sometimes, but Coach Shepard ain't about that.
I'm just messing.
No offense, but more so these days, Matt. Not you know, the old school ones, but
no, you're right.
Coach Shepard has I mean, the fact what he's been able to do even from this off season, from last season, just like the details of what he said, how his certain wide receivers are sitting in the front of the room, they're taking notes, they're focusing. What's changed this year from last year, you can hear some of the players say, the preparation. Coach Shepard has brought back how important the little things are in our wide receiver room, and it's going to make us so much better moving forward. He's brought back the competition. Look at how deep our room is. We haven't had this deep of a room, I don't think. I mean, if everyone stays healthy and keeps competing, you're not going to see very much of a drop-off. And the fact that he has such a wide array of talent, size, and speed, all of those are accounted for. And he's probably one of the most aggressive coaches as far when it comes to movement, blocking. Like, the difference I've seen in just our blocking scheme from wide receivers from past seasons, from what they did last season, it's more aggressive. And now that we got an offensive coordinator, I think we're going to see at least 4 to 5 guys with at least 45 receptions this season.
Easily. I already know what this next man going to say. I already sense where he's going to talk about the wide receivers. He's going to lead it back to one guy, one position that gets the ball to the receivers. Pettey, I know what you're going to say. So just the floor is yours regarding the evolution of Alabama receivers.
No, look.
He put you out there, Pettey.
I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna take the bait. I'm not gonna go that route with it. I think we've gotten excited the last few years over names, and the production didn't match the expectation of certain guys, and they haven't lived up, whether it be evaluations, whether it be the offense or whatever. But when we talk about the evolution of this group and what it can be versus last year or even the last 2 years, or what we kind of got used to in the Mechie, you know, in the last group that was really good with Mechie and all those guys. This one's got a chance, and it starts with Bernard, I believe. Bernard became the second guy last year, and now I think he's a luxury with what Isaiah Horton's been able to do. And from my understanding, I'm hearing that they've shut Ryan Williams down for the rest of spring, which has given other guys really a chance to work in that 5th, 6th spot in the rotation. But it's just real depth now. We were getting excited. I think we're actually going to see real depth. Ryan Williams, we know what he is. He's a given and has the ability to really do what they wanted to do with Kendrick Law last year with an understanding of the offense and be more versatile. But with the emergence of Isaiah Horton being a real damn threat at wide receiver and a different type of body that we didn't have last year, it's going to give Ryan that ability. And that's where I get to Bernard. Bernard had moved into that 2 role where now you're looking at 3 or 4 because, I mean, we hadn't even gotten to Rico Scott and the ability he plays with. He's a 6-foot guy that plays like he's 6'2", 6'3", based off of his athletic ability. So, you know, and I mean, that's not hell. It's legit depth. It's legit 4 or 5 guys that can go out and make plays for you, and then 2 more that can come in on a rotation. So, you know, we've talked about it the last 2 years. It still has to produce. We still have to see it. But from what I'm hearing, all accounts, man, this group is actually going to be able to do it on the field.
Dan, you know, talk about these receivers, talk about some of the guys that, you know, you're a lead recruiting analyst. Just talk about some of the different types of receivers from an evaluation standpoint. You know, Courtney Morgan and Shepard were on Lotsier Brooks way before he got like national attention. Like, he was one of the first commitments we got. Can you talk about the recruiting and talent evaluation side of JaMarcus Shepard and how that impact is transitioning to, you know, this evolution of receivers that he's bringing in, you know, keeping Alabama in the wide receiver U conversation?
Yes. You know, thing about a coach is it's a couple of things. You know, you got to be able to recruit, of course. Another thing is you got to be able to coach them up and motivate them. You know what I'm saying? So JaMarcus Shepard, he's proven as a developer. You know, he's proven that everywhere he's gone. But his ability to evaluate talent, you know, see a guy and coach him up and get him ready in such a short amount of time. You think what he did with Ryan Williams, you know, in a short amount of time, got him ready to play. You know what we're seeing from Luscion Brooks, you know, being able to, you know, to regroup when we lost Cunningham last year as a commit, to be able to circle back and bring in a guy like Derek Meadows at the last minute, you know. So the guy is a proven recruiter, you know, he has a proven track record to be able to get guys to the league. He's an offensive mind, you know. He's a wide receiver coach, but he's a brilliant offensive mind as well. So, you know, we think about, you know, Harmon Wiggins after his year at Bama. Well, he produced probably the greatest year for a receiver at the University of Alabama, but how much of it was him? How much success has he had since he left? You know, we lost Isaiah Bond, you know, and I don't think he improved any under Harmon Wiggins. You know what I'm saying? So I really think we upgraded, you know, at that position coach, you know, without a doubt, you know, and his ability to recruit and develop guys, man, you know, is unparalleled right now.
I agree.
Go ahead,
Ty.
Well, no,
Yeah,
I'll
sorry,
be
Ty,
very
my
brief.
bad.
I just have one little thing. Dan, to your point, I was a Wiggins defender until I saw Bond go to Texas, and in a year, it looked like he developed more at Texas in terms of his route running than he had in his entire tenure at Bama. And then I was like, oh, that's not great. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Sorry, Matt.
Oh no, and I was just gonna piggyback on what you guys said, that I think that we have depth, and I think we're gonna be versatile, kind of what Pettey alluded to. You know, you got Bernard, you got Ryan Williams, you have Luscion Brooks, you got Derek Meadows, you have Rico Scott, you have Isaiah Horton. We're gonna be able to be
Cole Adams.
Yeah, Slotty Pippen, Cole Adams. We're going to be able to be so multiple with personnels. You know, not really guys want defenses like Kirby. They won't be able to pinpoint certain personnel groups, certain alignments, certain, you know, tendencies that we would probably have in the past. And I think that's just going to help our depth, our experience, and just make this offense so lethal into what, you know, Luscion was talking about. We got an offensive coordinator that knows how to, you know, pick his poison and be effective on these defenses. So Kalen DeBoer has full confidence in Ryan Grubb, and I think it's vice versa. And I think DeBoer is excited about the talent that he has. Luscion?
Just one more thing about Shepard before we close this topic. And I said this I highlighted about this about Coach Mo, but this is a little bit more about Coach Shepard. I watched him at the practices, and he's not just energy with his group. He's energy with whoever the hell he's around on the damn football field. If there's a play going on around him, it could be the defense. I've seen him celebrate with the defense. He's that type of coach. That type of energy is contagious. And I think it's seeping through the locker room right now. And that's something that has been absent from Alabama football. And that's probably one of the happiest things and best things about this dude is his energy level never deteriorates. It's always high. He's got that high motor, and it's starting to work its way through not only his room, through this entire football team.
I agree. I totally agree. So guys, speaking of the evolution of Bama receivers, JaMarcus Shepard, we had a GOAT retire for Alabama wide receivers. hang his historic career up. The one and only Julio Jones. Guys, I mean, legendary NFL career. I think he's a Hall of Famer. You could make the argument. I'm just saying, you can make the argument for him being top 5 in the league. It just me personally. I think he easily could be made that argument. I think he's a Hall of Famer. Just Julio Jones. But I'm gonna ask y'all, give me your best Julio Jones moment at Alabama and kind of let that be in this tribute. And I'm going to start with reverse order with Dan James.
Man, it had to be that. I say the little screen pass against LSU. That had to be it. That's why I had to go first. that was it. You know, that was, you know, Julio Jones has arrived. You know, I want to pull a Chris and name a few more, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
No, Chris doesn't do a few more. He does like 15, 20 more. Let's be real. All right, Pettey, give us your
and shoot.
best. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, Smoke on our show, we did the top 5 wide receivers of all time in the NFL, and he had Julio number 1. It says nobody his size, skill, speed, and his ability to run routes. He wasn't a 2-route guy. He could do anything on the route tree. He could block downfield. He didn't make an argument just top 5. He made an argument for one of the greatest ever. So, man, so since Dan took the moment that I was going to say, because that's the one, you know, because the game was just back and forth, nothing was happening, and that was the big play. I'm gonna go a little bit further back. I'm gonna say the moment he put the hat on.
That was one I was gonna go with.
Because that was the moment. Let's be real. That was the Saban class that changed everything. Yeah. And Julio was the star of it, and there were stars all throughout that class. Let's be real. But Julio was different. And that was back in the era where ESPN was just really getting big on putting high school games on outside of Florida and Texas. You could actually get some Alabama schools. And they put, you know, Foley was on, and you saw Julio and Barron, and like, damn, this guy's. So I'm going to go with the moment that changed it all for Alabama and Nick Saban when Julio put that hat on for the Tide.
I got an interesting story I'm going to tell y'all when I wrap this up about Julio. Luscion, give us your Julio Jones tribute.
With, you know, how Alabama receivers like to embarrass DBs, I think this really started when Julio baptized the original number 7 for LSU. So I'm going to go with Alabama versus LSU. But it's going to be Julio absolutely owning and destroying the LSU favorite defensive back, because let's face it, Alabama receivers have made a career highlight reel out of embarrassing LSU defensive backs. And I think it started with Mr. Julio the GOAT Jones. You heard me?
It's Patrick Peterson, right? Used to go back and forth. Yeah, you can't go wrong with a 1-1. Ty, give us your take.
All great moments, guys. All great moments. But I'm disappointed in the lot of you. Julio Jones, you want to outline greatness. How about setting a record 2 weeks after surgery against Tennessee, 221 yards, 2 weeks after hand surgery, and he dominated. You want to talk about Julio? The word that comes to mind for me is domination. And what better way to display I am more athletic than you, I am more gifted than you, I work harder than you, I'm bigger than you, faster than you, stronger than you, and I just got off of an operating table and you still can't touch me. Julio versus Tennessee for 221. That to me is the, like, to this day, just one of the most incredible moments I've seen. Like, unbelievable.
Unbelievable. So I got a quick story. So Julio was being recruited when we were my senior year, Saban's first year, and we would always hear about this kid from Foley, Alabama named Julio Jones. So you think Julio Jones, I'm like, oh, it's this Hispanic kid who's a really good receiver, right? So, after the games, recruits come into the locker room and stuff like that. And they're like, there's Julio Jones. I was like, you're Julio Jones? I'm thinking this is like this phenomenal, like, Mexican Hispanic kid. It was like, I did not know it was like this rocked up 6'3", freak of nature, like Megatron type, not even human, cyborg of a high school player. But I never forget, we were like, oh, that's Julio. Okay, we get it now. But my favorite, y'all make a lot of great statements. I'm just going to think of one that comes off the top of my head. Georgia versus Alabama, the blackout game.
The fade rap.
We are beating the crap out of them, and John Parker Wilson steps back and throws an absolute dime to Julio. And Julio makes this incredible catch to, like, shut all the Georgia fans up in Athens.
That was my number 2.
Yeah, that was your number 2.
That's the one I wanted to give. I said, but I'm going to hold it. That's the one I wanted to give.
And I'm going to give you another one. I'm going to take y'all back. When, Saban always kept his practices closed, right? But it was a viral video that leaked of Julio scoring this crazy touchdown in a scrimmage in Bryant-Denny, and it went viral, and everybody was talking about, like, how great Julio Jones was. And I remember seeing that video. I thought that was a crazy moment of, like, oh, yeah, this kid's the real deal. So, Julio Jones, tribute to you. Do y'all have any NFL pro football tributes you want to give to him, Luscion?
That day, I wasn't even watching the actual game of him play. I was watching another football game. But I remember the players on the sideline being like, Julio got 300 yards.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I got him on my fantasy. I looked at this, but I was like, this dude got 300 yards receiving in one game. Like, what the? Game. Man, I mean, Julio did a lot of impressive things. But him getting a three-piece in the
NFL.
Right.
That high school stuff, man. You do that in high school. You don't do it on a professional level.
That's some stuff Devontae Smith does against Ohio State in the national championship. That's not something that's done in the NFL.
I like that.
I got 2 for you. I got 1 for you.
Ty?
One is when a legendary wide receiver, Larry Fitzgerald, is standing on the sidelines, and he looks and he says to the quarterback, hey, you see him over there? Keep your eye on him. That's the greatest. And Larry is a legend, right? Like, in my opinion, one of my favorite wide receivers to ever play this game is Larry Fitzgerald. Loved watching him play in college and the NFL. And he's looking at his quarterback going, you see that guy over there? That's a different type of athlete. The second is when he absolutely abused Malcolm Butler, mossing him in that Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Just made him his son.
Pettey.
What the story that won't be told on Julio, though, was, and you kind of referenced it, Ty, was, playing that Tennessee game 2 weeks after a broke hand. Julio never missed time for injuries. He played through a lot of injuries that a lot of guys would have taken time off, got healed properly, and may have prolonged their career. Julio's career would have been much longer if he wouldn't have been a damn soldier and soldiered through so many injuries and played hurt for so long. We'd have gotten an even better version. I do agree. I think there's an argument to be made that he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest receiver to ever step on the football field. So yeah, Julio was special. And I look, I get it. I'll do the one we got robbed. I hate he came to Alabama in the pre-opening of the offense era. I would have liked to seen Julio with Kiffin doing what he did with Amari Cooper.
Man.
Where Kiffin's like, I'm going to give the ball to the best dude and get it to him.
Right.
And gotten Julio the ball 15 times a game and seen what kind of stupid numbers he would have put up, But that's the whole what-if game. Julio was special. I do, man, Matt, it made me think real quick. Alabama receiver story, quite opposite. You talk about, you heard Julio's name and thought he was going to be a Hispanic kid.
Yeah.
We played Fayette my opening game my senior year of high school. And that's back before the internet, before rivals, all that stuff. But you do know about certain players. And the number one receiver in the state played for Fayette. Now, his name was Sam Collins, but, we're in the South. There'd be black dudes named Sam. But when I was told the number one receiver in the state was going against us, you get warm-ups, you start looking across the field. Well, I'm looking at their receiver line, and I'm looking for a black dude. I'm like, they don't have a black receiver. Who the hell is this kid? Is he getting taped up or something? Where is he? Yeah. And so I waited. I just assumed he wasn't in warm-ups, and then they showed out, and then they warmed him out, and I'm like, oh, it's a white dude that's my height. And then he received for 250 yards that night. I'm like,
Sam Collins was the real deal.
He's lightning fast and catches every.
Yes,
I got you.
Yeah. And he was another victim of the the era, that offensive era. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Him trying to Luke Matt.
Luke, Collins, that was
man, we had some,
man, that didn't get balls that could catch.
Right.
Yeah. Dan, do you have an NFL moment for Luscion? I mean, not Luscion, but Julio?
Ty Stoll, man, it was the Super Bowl performance. It wasn't his fault that the Falcons didn't pull it off, man. I mean, this guy was, dominating, and we decide, not to run the ball. I'm saying I'm no longer a Falcon fan. I'm not really. Because of that. But yeah, man, his performance in the Super Bowl, that's his greatest NFL moment for me, on the highest stage, and his performance. I tend to remember guys by their performance on the highest stage. And, that's what I remember about that performance he had in the Super Bowl.
I agree. I'm going to give you one more. They're playing the Carolina Panthers. Now, I don't know if it's the same game he went 300 over, but Matt Ryan throws a deep ball. He absolutely mosses Luke Kuechly, catches it, and then runs for 30 yards for a touchdown. So, I mean, Julio.
Wasn't that to stop their undefeated season, too?
Or something like that.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
And, another thing. Yeah. What he was the first one I remember him saying, him telling Coach Saban, Coach Saban was telling him about who all he had in the class and everything. He was kind of worried about, losing his commitment. He told Coach Saban, I don't care who you got on campus. Cream rises to the top. That's one thing I remember about. Yeah.
Let's go, Luscion.
The thing about Julio is too, you never saw him ever guarded by just one guy. There was at least 3 dudes trying to shut this dude down, and he's still making every single
bracket
catch.
Coverage. Yeah,
they
threw every kind of coverage at him.
It wasn't maybe Julio's gonna catch this. It's no, he's gonna catch this. It's not a question. He gonna get open, even if he's not open. Chuck him the ball
easily. Julio
out here jonesing it.
Jonesing it. I want to give you your flowers. Shouts out to one of the legends. Oh, Justin.
Hey,
speaking of legends.
Yes. Hey, I want to kind of piggyback on a lot of things that were said. Matt, your former teammate, Rashad Johnson, was very popular in 2008 for having those 3 interceptions, one for a touchdown or pick 6, but probably the most watched video of him was that viral video that leaked of Julio Jones in 2008, stiff arming him to the dirt and scoring that touchdown.
Yeah, that video went viral. It was crazy.
And I gotta say, you did take my choice as far as favorite play from Bama, the back of the end zone catch against Georgia in the blackout game.
Yeah.
Thing of beauty. That's when everybody really got to see what he was about.
Yeah.
Yes, he did score a touchdown against Clemson, did a few things after that, but on a national stage against Georgia, when Georgia was supposed to handle us, he showed up. What I really like about him that doesn't get said very often, he wasn't one of those guys that you saw in the headlines off the field. He wasn't a guy who got in trouble. everyone who was a teammate of his would say that he'd never drink. He wasn't going into clubs. He just stayed low, and he was about business. In terms of work ethic, if you had to compare it, it was like watching Kobe Bryant. He was dedicated to his craft, and he worked endless hours. And when he got through working those, he worked several more. That's just who he was. And you talk about how he played with a broken hand. The man had a broken foot and ran a 4.3 in the NFL Combine. Who does that? So, and one little thing in our chat, if the chat can answer this question in terms of Julio Jones, what is Julio Jones' real name? If you can tell me his real name, you'll get a title towel courtesy of the Bama Standard Network.
Ron Sanchez. Couldn't get more Hispanic than Julio Jones. Might as well go with
You actually can, believe it or not.
Well, listen, Ty.
Can I get the title towel? Is the title
Did you,
towel?
did you just Google it? Did you just Google it?
No.
Okay.
I actually don't remember his first. I don't remember his full name, but I do know that isn't there a Lopez in it?
It is.
Okay.
That's his middle name.
First name starts with
I
a
think I've heard that now.
First name starts with a
Julian.
First name starts with a
Okay.
Q.
Yeah. All right. This is for the viewers, but I'll.
No one in the chat's getting it. Come on, chat.
Chat. What's that
Lou
Bama
knows.
knowledge?
Come on, chat.
I think Lou's the only one on the
yeah,
panel.
that's
who
my
knows.
favorite player. I had his jersey posted on my. I had his number 8 jersey posted on the back of my door.
Is Julio
All through
on
high
the
school.
Mount Rushmore of Alabama football?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
I think
I'll
he's
fight
got-
anybody that says he's not.
We got DT.
But he was. Do you put him above Devontae Smith, even though Smitty won a
Yeah.
Heisman?
Yes,
As far
I
as
do.
in terms of skill set, yes.
dude. You get
And
man. I
the whole
love
package.
Look, I love Smitty, but come on, if Kiffin had Julio, he would have won 3 Heismans.
Good point. Yeah, I think Julio deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore.
Guys, like I can't do that because
Actually,
the fact
what-
that Smitty had an impact, a literal impact for 4 damn years. That right there, plus a Heisman and a Natty, not 1 but 2. I'm just saying, I'm a stat guy. You got to go with the stats. The impact obviously is Julio, but as far as if we're going to put them based off what they did for Alabama,
Yeah, but you could go
Same.
Julio. You could say he was part of what made Alabama the deal again. Like going to that recruiting class was like, oh shit! Like all the
First
greats
off, they'd both
go to
be
Bama.
on my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's an argument to have both of
we
those
got
guys
a
on
winner.
there.
We got
I
a
think-
winner.
We got a winner.
Quintorris, yeah.
Quintorris.
Amber.
Lopez Jones.
Good
Jr.
job, Amber Nicole.
Appreciate it, Amber.
So she will get a
I knew there
title
was a
towel.
Lopez in it.
But man, if you have Smith and Julio on your Mount Rushmore, that leaves one more spot, and that's a lot of dudes to fill that one spot.
That Mount Rushmore got to be like 20 deep at Alabama.
It's got to have more than
Yeah.
4 heads on it.
We can't at Alabama. We can't even use Mount Rushmore anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
we
we
got
have
to
to
use
do something different.
mountains of Rushmore.
Yeah. Yeah. We can't.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
we can't even
I
put
agree.
Mount Rushmore at one position. You know.
Well, you'd have
That's
2
crazy.
more spots. You'd have Derek Thomas, and then you'd have whoever you wanted to put.
There you go. See, you can't do it.
This is so, Alabama. I try. This
It's
is the one
different, yeah.
question. You can't narrow it down to like 4 players. You can, but
No.
like it's just so hard.
You're leaving
I
legends
mean,
off.
you can.
Yeah.
Hey, take your feelings out of it and do it objectively, and you
Woo!
can.
There you go.
That's
you
all
go,
it is.
Lou.
You have to
Okay.
remove yourself as a fan,
I like that.
look at it objectively, and it's
Yeah.
actually very, very simple.
And the crazy thing
Stop
is, you
picking who your favorite player was, who you're closest to.
Very
Take the
simple.
facts.
Who's the 4, Lou? Who's the 4?
I venture to say you can name 4 and not even name a quarterback.
Who's the 4?
No, yeah.
Oh,
I think so, Justin.
I'm not putting a quarterback up there.
Well, the one, if there's going to be a quarterback, it'd be Tua. I'll fight any of y'all. He's the best quarterback ever.
I'll put Bryce. Would you
Tua's
put?
better than Bryce.
Yeah, right.
Bryce was great. The
I
man was great.
don't know. Bryce.
Tua's
Yeah,
the
but-
best quarterback ever played at Alabama. I hate
Bryce-
the injury stuff, but
Bryce did it without receivers, except for
and the
Daniels.
offensive coordinator.
Bryce called his own plays.
Bryce was
He did. He
Bryce
was the-
didn't have a
was good.
center.
Bryce
didn't have a
Bryce
center.
was an audible at a level I haven't seen a Bama QB ever do.
Bryce put Bama on his
Bryce
back
got decked like
literally.
50 times.
Bryce for me is always. I love Tua, but the durability is like what kind
The
of
durability is. I get the. I mean, I get that's where I kind of even hiccup. Like I'll hiccup when I'm doing my. I just love Tua so much, but I'll hiccup on that argument. And I was standing. On the 20-yard line when Bryce made a pass against Ole Miss, actually in Oxford, that dudes just don't make. And it was a deal where Ole Miss had it covered perfectly. And I'm like, no other quarterback makes that throw. And it was to win a game, too. It was not to put a game. It was that game when it went like 1,000, 52-49 or whatever. And Bryce just kept making. I mean, Bryce, you knew that they weren't going to stop him. And again, he made throws that night that I was seeing live. It's second time. I did it with saw Jaden Daniels in that same stadium where I was like, holy shit, man, you can watch it on TV, but when you see it live, you see the spin, you see where they place it different. I'm like, these dudes are making NFL throws to the back of the end zone to the corner. So the Bryce is, that's where you can, the Rushmore is impossible to do because I'll give an argument for, if you're going to argue with me on Tua, the argument's Bryce. After that, then y'all can all
that Auburn game where they were down and Bryce smiles. It's fourth down and Bryce
he's
there
just like
smiling because he knows, like, I got you.
Oh God,
unbelievable.
About to
Thomas Henry Cooper Allen. Ooh. You can't leave Derrick Henry off of it either, right?
You can't.
So many.
Derrick Henry is one of the greatest college football players ever.
Well, you may be the greatest running back to ever live.
Might be the greatest running back.
Thomas is always on my list.
So Derrick Henry,
high school, 2,000.
Derrick Henry is unanimous.
2,000 yards in the NFL.
Yes, unanimous on the
Henry.
Mount Rushmore.
If
He may be the only. Well, him and Derrick Thomas, those are probably the two only unanimous ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, without a doubt. The Derrick.
Gotta
I
have
think
Derrick
those
Thomas.
are the two
Gotta have
everybody will say, and I think the other two would be
So debated.
Right.
Good
Oh,
stuff.
I mean, like I said, do it objectively.
You're right.
I mean, doing it objectively, those are the only two you can say objectively.
Yeah, I gotta have Derrick Thomas.
But if we're talking absolute domination the entire time they were in college since they stepped foot there. Not like they had to develop later in their career. They got on campus and had Negan-sized ball sack and said, I'm here. This is my position. I'm going to do what the hell I'm going to do, and ain't nobody going to stand in my way type of impact. That's how you got to look at that. Not somebody that, okay, they
But
did
you gotta
develop
throw
into
Will
a
Anderson.
phenomenal player. That somebody that just let him hang out.
If you're going to say
From
that,
day
you
one.
also have to include Antonio Langham in that conversation.
All right.
College
It's a
Football Hall
lot.
of
It's
Fame.
a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. How about we? I don't know. How about we go to the next topic, guys?
Yeah, we could genuinely probably do a 4-hour show just
Yeah,
debating.
just
Right.
Mount Rushmore.
Oh, for
You know
sure.
what?
Maybe even like a
We've
full
been
12-hour
doing
day.
a top 5 list, me and Smoke, and it's borderline impossible.
You can actually do a 12-hour show if Chris James is on.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
you just got to do it during the day, not at night, because you know.
Chris would have just
So-
turned that topic that we just ducktailed off into on Julio added an extra hour to it.
He just would have he would have gone down rosters, but
We would have heard the
6
name of
hours
every
later.
Alabama player back to Don Sutton. Yeah.
We're gonna call Chris CBS receipt because he names so many players as long as a CBS receipt. It's like so guys, let's get to our next topic. Let's go to rising tide freshmen. Listen, if you look at Alabama's got a young people movement, a lot of freshmen. Excuse me, just all across the sports, but mainly in football. You got guys like Dejon Lee, Brooks, Meadows. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Guys, let's talk about rising tide freshmen. Luscion, I'm gonna let you pop us off on this topic. Just shout out some guys you want to talk about that are really gonna give some impact this fall.
I got a kind of an interesting look here off somebody they keep flashing. And it's not going to be someone everybody's talking about. Give me Abdul Sanders. And it's interesting why I'm going here because the depth of inside linebacker, we got some hurt guys, we got some banged up guys. But the fact that I keep hearing his name plus the system he came from already at modern day, he's kind of been really good to us, especially the guys who have been able to plug and play on our defense. It's similar to kind of what they ran. And the fact that he's already getting his name out there, flashing and been, performing, he's already put on the weight. And I said from when we were recruiting him that he was my favorite out of the ones that we were recruiting just because of his movement and the fact that he could see a play develop. And I haven't seen that in a linebacker in high school in a long time. So my rising tide freshman is going to be Abdul Sanders. It's going to be a name that might not hit as heavy as some of these other ones right now, or it could be that name that just comes out this fall and says, look, I'm here.
Let's go. Dan, we're recruiting analyst.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. I'm going to try to do another one. People haven't been talking about Lou, because we know the Brooks, the Kalen, Russ, those are obvious. Man, let me say Michael Carroll. He's a guy I was high on when he committed, and I was very impressed by, and I couldn't find any other high school offensive line film that compared to his, and I think he's a guy that we'll be talking about regularly by the end of the season. I expect him to work his way into the starting lineup by the end of the season.
Pettey, because I want Ty to end on this subject.
Yeah, there's a lot, like you said, a lot of names that we hear constantly, and one in the secondary like Dejon Lee that may, in a deep secondary might find some rotation, but the one I kind of hear the most consistently is Ivan Taylor. I think he's looking real good at the safety spot, comes from the dad. But that's the name I keep hearing from guys that know that's really popping off that Mike could find some serious playing time in the 2 deep. But I'm like you guys. I think we're going to see a youth movement. I think this is the class that redefines and gets it back to more Alabama versus, a hodgepodge. So kind of excited about this class, guys. I think this is going to be a difference-making class for DeBoer. If not, I think this is the class he can ride into building to what we all thought DeBoer could be when he got here.
Ty.
So y'all have all had great ones. Ivan Taylor, certainly flashing. Dejon Lee, listen, they just might have to make a package to allow 12 men on the football field just to get him on the field. Like, he's that good. Lotsier Brooks, fantastic. Caleb Edwards is someone who I'm interested to see how prepared he is when he gets in. Man, you would have loved to have had him in spring, especially with all the injuries to tight end. But I'm going to cheat a little bit. He's not a true freshman, but he's a freshman to Alabama, damn it. And that's Stephen Bouma. This is a
Oh,
kid
no.
who comes
Wow.
in built like a tank. And yes, he's a little green. But we knew that whenever he was supposed to be in the last class before he went to community college. Now, you remember he went to community college and was still a top 5 player nationally, showing you the upside. He's a little green, but when you have guys like LT Overton, who have been talking about taking a leadership role, Tim Keenan, James Smith, right? Some of the guys that can kind of teach him along with a Coach Roach. I think that's a kid that if you give him the opportunity, you give him an inch, he's going to take a mile because he's so powerful. If he keeps the pad level down, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with on that defensive line.
Justin.
Well, to Dan's point, piggyback off of him, not just Michael Carroll, Jackson Lloyd. Smoke was at practice today, and he said these guys are going to be an absolute problem, and it's going to be sooner rather than later. Abdul Sanders is another guy, and Dre Kirkpatrick Jr., he's not a freshman, but this is a guy that has been shutting people down. It's going to be hard to keep him off the field. Derek Meadows is another one, big-bodied receiver, making his presence strongly known in practice. Is someone that Smoke couldn't get his eyes off of when he was there. So we got some talented guys, and if the veterans aren't going to step up, these guys aren't going to wait for them to get a clue.
I agree. I'm excited about these freshmen. We got guys. I know Luscion's really excited about this guy. He's signed with Bama, but he won't be there till the summer. Chuck McDonald, guys. Don't forget about that name. The kid is, I think he helped lead his team to a state, compete in the state championship in track. He's bought in. He is a dog. So I'm excited. And as always, Dejon Lee, his frame, 6'4", is just unreal. And Luscion Brooks, I'm just excited about this freshman young guys movement. Like Justin said, if the older guys don't want to do it, hey, play these freshmen. They'll get it done. Luscion?
Man, I'm gonna throw out Justin Hill out there too, man, because I've been hearing what I heard about what Quay said about him, and I just want to actually give a shout out to Quay. That's probably one of my favorite player interviews ever given. I have not seen that passion from a player talk about how excited he is for his teammates getting better in a very long time, and I'm excited that they actually elected him to be a captain of this damn football team, because that shows that we're moving in the right direction.
I think so. I think that's something we were missing past couple of years. You know, guys being selfless, you know, that true brotherhood, putting it on the line for each other, developing the young guys, you know. So we're glad to see Bama back in the right way. So, guys, we shouts out to Amber Nicole for winning the Title Towel t-shirt. But if you want to get one, go to wetwillsports.com, get you an amazing crimson title towel. You could be like Amber Nicole, who just won hers coming up with Julio Jones name. Get you a title towel at wetwillsports.com. Use the promo code STANDARD, STANDARD, only at wetwillsports.com. So, guys, let's shift to another topic. Let's discuss the tight end room. I think Marshall Pritchard got in there, holding him out the rest of the spring. Some other guys. Dan, do you think Alabama should look at the portal come this spring when it opens back up regarding tight ends? Maybe trying to generate some depth, and I'll let you guys kind of discuss this topic real quick.
Yeah, I would think, you know, they definitely would kick some tires on a few prospects, but it's going to have to be the right fit, because remember when Danny Lewis Jr., he withdrew his name from the portal, we turned down a guy that we had that was going to commit to us at the tight end position. I can't remember his name, but so without a doubt, you know, we're always looking to improve depth whether it's through the portal or through the high school level. But definitely, I expect us to kick the tire, look and see. We're going to always have someone assigned to the portal, so we're going to assess the talent, and if it's the right situation, you make the move.
I like it. Ty, I know you follow. Do you see Bama jumping in the portal? And I know you're around the table sports, and I know it was a big time tight end. You were shocked that jumped in the portal from Oklahoma. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think Alabama kind of looks at this kid?
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at all for Bama to look in the portal for a tight end. You just had some bad luck there this spring. But that's why I also talked about I'm curious to see how ready Caleb Edwards is coming in. Remember, we got a very highly rated tight end. In terms of Devon Mitchell, right? Super talented kid. And remember, when this kid was in high school, he had visited Alabama. He had talked about how he was high on Alabama, ended up going to OU. Now, he had skipped a year of high school, so you knew he was a guy that needed to develop. But seeing him into the portal was just kind of like, wait, what's going on here? Because he was all in on OU. I don't know if Bama will kick the wheels on that. Just, it's going to be interesting. If they do, he has to come in with the mindset of, I've got to prove it, right? Just because I was a highly ranked guy, just because I was a 5-star at one point, doesn't mean they're going to give me anything. Because that's not how college football goes. That's not how Bama goes. And I'm certainly not saying that's how OU went, right? I think that might have been a bit of the issue there. But I'm interested because at his best, he's very, very, very gifted. Very gifted. Really talented guy. But to Dan's point, right, it's got to be the right fit. And now tight end is an interesting position because you have Coach Ellis still there, but then you have Nick Sheridan as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, let's Luscion, talking about Caleb Edwards. You want to add to this?
I think they definitely get in the portal and get a tight end, just for the fact that they actually like to utilize the tight end in so many different ways in this offense. And you're going to need depth, especially playing in the SEC. This is not, up north cupcake football. They actually hit people in the South. So it's going to be interesting. And I have full trust in the man, Courtney Morgan, to do his thing. And I'm going to put my money on the fact that he's going to pull us somebody out the portal that a lot of people aren't even talking about right now, just because he's had that effect in the transfer portal so far. He's got that reach. So I have full faith that Courtney Morgan and Caleb DeBoer are going to get an effective tight end out of the portal in the springtime when it opens.
I agree. Pettey, anything you want to add on this topic?
No, I think y'all hit it pretty much. I mean, the tight end room is thin, and in this era, when you can go get something, you can add that depth from the portal. But like you say, you don't want to waste. You got to. I mean, it's all about chemistry. You can't just bring a guy in, and that's a hard position to find. So, I mean, it's got to be the right fit. But yeah, I 100% believe we got fillers out for that position because they've shut Cuevas down for spring because they're again looking to build depth in that spot. Oots has had the troubles you talk about. But so, I mean, the rough spring. So yeah, I absolutely believe the eyes will be out scanning the country for that position.
I just want to highlight Caleb Edwards. Guy's going to be a beast. I just think Marshall Pritchard's got to just stay a little bit more healthy and get stronger. I think that's going to solidify this room, and I think it's going to be great moving forward. So, guys, let's discuss. Recruiting update. Dan, you got any recruiting updates for us?
Well, we're heading into a big weekend. Let me say that, 8-day week this week. And we got a loaded visitor list coming in. Some names that I want, the people in the chat to get to start watching. We got a big recruit coming in, Jet Washington. He was added to the visitors list earlier this week, in last week, over the weekend rather. And he's a 6'4", 185 pound. He's number 3 ranked overall ranked safety in the country out of Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. Another tall DB that's what we seem to be going after. A big addition to the visitors list. He's also, fun fact, nephew of Kobe Bryant. Tremendous athlete. He's great in coverage. He's a thumper. Can help in run support. Another one, is that's a very interesting visitor to me. Is Sincere Johnson, 6'3", 230 pound linebacker out of Ohio. Ohio State territory. But he has family from Alabama. But I if I'm not mistaken, I think he grew up an Ohio State fan. But when recruits say that about us, they grew up an Alabama fan, it usually doesn't work out good for us. So, maybe we have some reverse juju, but that's another guy that I'm gonna be watching this weekend. Derek Zammit, 4-star quarterback out of DePaul Catholic in Wayne, New Jersey. I think he's our top option at quarterback right now. I think he's one to really keep an eye on. He's going to be making the decision real soon after the visit. So he may be the quarterback, in this class, and once we get the quarterback, that's when, guys tend to flock. Quarterback tend to bring other guys in the class with them. So Xavier Crowell, the number 2 overall running back, in-state kid. He's going to be visiting, and I like where Alabama sits with him. I like to see if we can close the deal with him this weekend. Great opportunity. What'd you have, Matt?
Dan, before you get to elaborate on Crowell, could you talk about this Zanuck kid? Is he legit? I mean, he's in Jersey. Obviously, Luscion Brooks was in Jersey, but is this kid legit quarterback? I mean, I know Al DeBoer doesn't just offer quarterbacks like that.
Right.
They kind of pinpoint guys that they really, really like. And
that's to tell you right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You look at, when they see a guy throwing, they zero in on it, you don't see a whole lot of quarterback offers going out. They tell you they got somebody they really like. Okay. Once we saw Keelan Russell, that was it at the quarterback position. And I think, it may be the same situation with Derek Zammit. Another guy we got in on early, they've seen him, another same situation as Keelan Russell. I think right now he's rated like the number 28 quarterback according to the On3 consensus. I think he's a guy that could possibly move up into 5-star status, by the end of the summer after attending camps and everything. We'll see if he can get an Elite 11 invite. So we will see. But yeah, I don't see any other quarterback offers going out. So I think this is a guy that the staff is really high on. So we'll see if they can close the deal this weekend.
Okay, yeah, and you're talking about Crowell. Anybody else you want to highlight?
Another one, in-state guy, Jaquez Wilkes, 6'4", 218 pound linebacker, in-state. He's out of Wiley High School in Alabama. The number 4 overall prospect in the state of Alabama. He's projected at the Wolf position. He'll be visiting this weekend as well. So he's another one we're going to see if Alabama decides to push, coming out of the weekend. So he's another one we'll be watching closely.
What about Jones out of, what is it, St. Paul's, the big time prospect out of
St. Paul,
Alabama?
Anthony Tank Jones. Yeah, his recruitment has been kind of very quiet. We don't know. We don't know where he is on the pecking order. You're not hearing much about him. It's quiet, but Oregon is in it. So that should tell you something. Oregon could be perceived leader. we'll just watch the visits with him. Then we'll know whether or not the staff is pushing or not.
Guys, any recruits y'all want to add to this, or any things you might know? Ty, Luscion, Pettey.
Dan's the man.
Dan is the man. That's what they say at the nursing.
He's the
home.
recruiting expert for a reason.
Words from Miss Gertrude. Dan is the man. So, guys, audience question Q&A. Let's get right to it. Joel, does everyone think Proctor? I thought we answered this last week. Yes, we think he should stay at left tackle. Oh man,
He probably thought he forgot to hit send last week.
Fromm said, "Who is Ivan Taylor?" Only Super Bowl champion Ike Taylor from the Pittsburgh Steelers, highly touted son, playing in our secondary. Legit, he's got number 13. Yeah. He's taking over that Malachi Moore number. This kid's legit. I saw Kane Womack get onto him today in the practice.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I love to hear Kane Womack just fired up at these guys. Guys low. I mean, that's just something about that.
Yeah, all Kane had to do is say, "Don't make me go get my daddy."
Yeah.
You remember the defense tightened up after daddy got on the sideline.
Yeah. For sure.
Wow.
What you think, Lou? He's going to need to for this defense to reach the level it won't be at.
I don't care where it comes. If we can get 12 sacks out of anybody, Lou, I'm pretty sure me and Lou will be cool with it. If we get pressure on the dang quarterback,
I like it.
I'm okay with it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that would work if it happens. I'm all for it.
Yeah. Who is that guy? Look at Lou.
Yeah, if we get any type of pressure, whether it's simulated pressure or not, I don't care. If we can get 12 sacks out of one position, I'm all for it.
Can we get 8 sacks out of one position? Can we go with 8 first, Dan? Let's just get 8.
I'm okay with that.
Can we get 8 from 2 guys?
Right.
Who's going to be the guy to
Can we get 5 from 3 guys? Can we get 5 from 3 guys? I'm just saying, like these aren't like, I mean, if everybody on our defensive line had 3 sacks, let's do it. Y'all don't understand how dominant that would make us if everybody on our line had 3 sacks this season.
I like it.
That's some deadly stuff right there. And with our secondary and the linebackers we have that come fill it, our defense. We might be having.
You know what they start with? They start with stopping the run. Stop the run, you have fun.
Yep.
Yeah. And the way Kane Womack is fired up at his defense, I mean, I ain't seen nobody cuss out a defender like that in a long time.
A long time, not in this era.
Yeah. I mean, that was an ass chewing. I likes me some ass chewing. You got a buttload of that.
It was Saban-esque. It brought back memories of Saban just.
And for him to be comfortable though to let loose on a freshman like that tells you what he thinks of Taylor.
Yeah, that means you see a lot in him.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, man, he got busted too. That was some good stuff.
Amber Nicole says Alabama needs one more quarterback from the portal, in her opinion. I say if we lose one, then maybe yes, but
it's tough to do.
Going forward.
The thing about it, I don't see us losing one. I really don't. Right now.
What'd you say, Ty?
I think
that'd be very tough. That'd be very tough to do. Get another quarterback from the portal.
Yeah, I think they would just ride it out to the end of the season.
Unless it's like a Tyler Buckner type and they just want to, chill in the Alabama locker room.
You just gave me PTSD.
Oh, man.
Need somebody to run.
That was a bad experience, Lou.
That was worse than bad.
What are we playing lacrosse?
Hey,
I mean, then he went back on the football team and wasn't he
won
receiver now?
national championship.
Yeah.
No,
he went in lacrosse, then got back on the football team as a receiver.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was brutal.
I mean, if you can't beat him, join him. Literally.
Ruffin for Bestman. Oh, yeah, this kid's the real deal. Appreciate it, Larry Large. Talking about Ruffin, the defensive tackle for Bestman City High School.
Yes, I expect him to get back on campus again. And, Alabama's in a good spot with him. I really like him. Lou and I, we talked about it, we watched it and broke it down. Yes, he's a disruptor, and, I like him. I like him a lot.
He's a road grader.
Yes, he is.
That's what we need.
What's Bama's chances, Dan?
I think it's us in Tennessee, right?
I mean, right now the guy can name his school. We just got to, we can't. I don't think we can fumble this one. This is a superior talent, and I like Alabama's chances right now.
Let's go, Larry. Next question. Do we believe this Alabama defense have the potential to be the best in the country? And what position on defense is the most vulnerable? I think Luscion can add to the vulnerability. I think he kind of hit it on it. But me personally, I think this defense can be the best in the country. Definitely in the secondary. And I'll let Luscion talk about the vulnerabilities and Ty and Pettey and Dan add on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could be the best defense in the country, no question, especially with who we return up front, their experience, the fact that they've been in college now, some of these guys that we were talking about as freshmen, redshirt freshmen, their third year on campus. So they should know their bodies are in the shape to actually do some damage. I think we can have the best defense in the country. Now, the position I think is the most vulnerable, and I'm going to keep hitting it until it don't need hit no more. And that is our defensive pass rushing that has been dormant for the last few seasons. 25 sacks last year. 25 sacks. That is not going to get it done, especially in today's game of football. Now, that might have cut it back in the day when people were
unless we dominate time of possession.
Right, 90% of the time. But in this game, sacking the quarterback is a very crucial point in the game, especially when you have a secondary that is just basically like, listen, if you get a little bit of pressure, we're probably going to either at the very least get a hand on it. If not, turn it and go the other way. Because we got guys in our secondary that are burners, flat out. They're ball hawks. And they don't even need that much. Right. So anything more that our defense can give them as far as pass rush, say like 35 sacks, you're going to see our defense go from, just top 10 to being the top defense in the country, especially when you got all these different pieces that Coach Mo and Coach Womack are going to have to move around the secondary, potentially move around on the defensive line. I say potentially just because we haven't really seen it work yet. Who they're going to work in as the Bandit and the Wolf. We get those two hitting how they should be, hitting how some of the other schools had them hitting, like them two at South Carolina was hitting. We get that with our secondary. Whoo!
We're
going to have to say this.
But set the edge on the run. We can do that, man. We can improve a lot.
Yeah.
So
we do all these things, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna be having a conversation, I promise you, because this defense has those type of players on it to be able to perform at the high level. Where we're gonna need a conversation, possibly.
Bama's gonna have the best secondary in the nation. You can take it to the bank. There are gonna be some great secondaries. Bama's gonna have, in my opinion, the best. I think the returning Xavier Brown, Damani Jackson. Lou, to your point, Damani Jackson ran a 10.25. 100-meter dash. And what is he, 6'1"? Like, he's not a small dude. He's pretty stout. You had Dejon Lee. You had Cam Calhoun, was one of the top 10 graded cornerbacks coming back, and with top graded cornerback last year. You lose Malachi, that stings, right? Great leadership, really played great football last year. Looked like freshman Malachi. You have Bray Hubbard. You have Keon Sapp. You have Zay Mincy. You have Deshaun Jones. You have Red Morgan. You have Dre Kirkpatrick. You got options. Where do you want to go? Right? So I think the secondary is spoken for. Bandit, watch out for LT Overton. He was one of the leaders in the nation in pressures last year. If he converts close to getting home, he's going to have 8-9
Give him
sacks.
down. Yep.
8 or 9 sacks. I can see that, right? Wolf is my question. What does that look like? I think, Lou, you've been 100% on that position. And also, I want to say this. I want to see it from the interior, too. It doesn't just have to come from that outside, right? Tim Keenan, James Smith, you got the ability. That's not the question. You guys start busting from the interior, man, it's tough as a quarterback whenever your center gets bull rushed right into your lap.
Right.
Then it's real
Jeremiah
tough.
Beeman.
Jeremiah Beeman. I mean, so to me, the vulnerability, Lou, there's no disagreeing with you. You're 100% right. It's what is going to happen up front. I think LT Overton is going to take that next step. If he does, you're looking at a great defense. And I do think we're going to have the best secondary in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, drop the mic. Is that Haney says, do you believe it's like more likely to get 2 1,000 yards receiving this season? Or 2
One person take
this season? I think 2 1,000-yard receivers.
Yeah. No doubt.
All right, Ty. I think that we're gonna have one for sure. We're gonna have one for sure. But just by looking at what our room looks like right now and going back and looking how Grubb likes to use different packages, especially when you have elite talent and those players have special elite talents, like say 6'4", 6'5", or say a guy that runs, 22 miles an hour and another guy that runs, 22 miles an hour. And then you just got a whole bunch of 6'1" absolute dogs with strong, capable hands of going and making plays. I think this is going to be more of like the year you saw I think it would be probably a Calvin Ridley's junior year when you saw Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs and company enter the scene. I think you're going to see a lot of guys. You're going to have at least 3 guys. Actually, we're going to have at least 5 guys with 550 plus yards.
I like that.
And 1,000-yard receiver as well. And 1,000-yard back.
Yeah.
For sure.
Simply off of having a better game plan, offensive game plan.
Right. It's not everyone acts like it's that hard. It's like, no, it's just about being able to have experience in actually calling plays and being able to make adjustments throughout the game.
Throughout the game and situational play calling.
Yeah.
And that is it. Well, guys, you can follow us. You can follow us at below, but I'm going to let these guys give their closing remarks, starting with Luscion, Pettey, then James.
Well, y'all know me. You can find me on X, Rolu241. Always talking Alabama something, especially diving in deep on who we're getting recruiting-wise. As Dan said, we're really high on some defensive guys that aren't really on the national spotlight yet. But as he said, it's early. They could still, go to some camps, show out, and do some other things. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, Luscion Graves. And exclusively, we're going to be here Tuesday nights, the final whistle, baby. Roll daggum tide.
Roll daggum tide. Damn.
All right. You can catch me on X. At Final Whistle Dan. You catch me right here Tuesday nights. The Final Whistle with the awesome cast of Avengers I have here. Wednesday nights. I think we're going back to every week now. 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central, the Crimson Dynasty. I'm ready to get back to it. Yay. It's 8-day week. Football is right around the corner once again. It's good times, So, year 2 of the DeBoer era is kicking off, and I'm here for
it. 8-day week. Be sure to follow the Bama Standard this weekend. Excuse me, getting choked up about football season coming back. And Dan, how can they find you, sir?
Catch me at Pettey_Daniel on Twitter. I'm Daniel Pettey on Facebook. You can catch me Monday nights on the Bama Standard on the opening kick with Smoke Dixon, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. And then I'm here on Tuesday nights, man, with you guys. And also on the Bama Standard before at 6 Central, 7 Eastern. Man, all over the network. Catch me. I'm back after a hiatus. Maybe. Roll Tide. Everybody get excited for A-Day. Woo!
Yeah.
Get excited. Listen.
Hey, I got more excited that Alabama baseball beat Southern Miss tonight. So
right.
Yeah.
If y'all ain't check that out, check out my boy Justin LeBron at shortstop.
Oh man, why ain't he something? Yeah, man. Listen, George. Yeah. We got it for another year though, unless this little NIL stuff.
Nah, I think he stays. He's a good kid, man. I like that dude.
Yeah, this guy, man, he's something to watch, y'all.
Well, listen, just like Justin LeBron, we're something to watch here every Tuesday here on the Final Whistle. And listen, y'all have a good 8-day weekend. Come to T-Town, have a blast, see the players, enjoy 8-day experience. But at the end of the day, we like to end on those 2 words. RTR, roll tide.
And we don't give a piss about nothing but the tide.
Nothing but the tide.
Blitz, Bama, blitz.